Hello, and welcome to the End of the Chain. I'm your host, Samuel McCulloch, and in this episode, I'm joined by Mike Dunworth from Wyre. Now, if you don't know already, Mike's a bit of a character, and I actually didn't tell him that we had started recording for all of the episode, but he was a good sport, and we just started and went through. I think Mike gave a really nice interview. We had a really fun time, and Mike's building some cool stuff with Wyre. We're actually integrating it here at the project that I'm working at. So hope you guys are excited about this and liking the podcast. Make sure to leave a review. Also, come and subscribe to the newsletter, which goes out whenever we have a new episode. I think this is going to wrap everything up. You're going to like this one. I promise, guys. All right, let's hop into the episode. So how would you guys classify yourself? You're a payment processor, right?
Surface level, yes. But I think more of it as like we're an infrastructure provider, basically.
Yeah. Because the whole fiat to crypto world is pretty bad. I mean, I know you're fighting against existing MSBs that are doing billions more dollars than the fiat on ramps for crypto or some of the other stuff that's connected for crypto right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of hold everybody by the balls and squeeze as much as they can. But I know. Because we pay, our fees that we're paying are just insane right now. And
really?
Because like we use PayPal, and PayPal double dips on both sides. For all the payments, right? Because we're considered high risk, right? And so they take a huge chunk of our payment on our side, but on the client side as well too, they take what their standard 3% or 2.5%.
Everyone's just getting gaps left, right, and center, basically.
I know. So once you get into crypto, you can make those $6 billion transactions for 5 cents, but it's the on-ramps that suck. Yeah.
Oh man, how exciting! God, I literally can't tell you how excited. Like, I'll give you an example that's sort of similar to that. Is I think it was someone from like DeFi's app or something, and they were we were talking about onboarding them, and the problem was they didn't have an entity yet, like it was super early or something, and I sort of started thinking to myself, why would they even need to register a company? Like, what's the point? You've got enough of capital flow in DAI or Ethereum where it's like, register a DAO and make people come and go as, shareholders if they want. But it just felt almost like that's the first time I've had it actually click into my head that it's not really necessary to actually register an entity. Anyway, that's interesting.
I mean, but like, so if you didn't have a vision, what were you guys doing for all the years?
You know what? That's an excellent question. Well, we were basically, the vision was we didn't have a vision. And we deliberately didn't want to have one, basically, because the space moves so quickly that we know we're not going to pick right. We know you can't pick right this early anyway. So we'd always, just said, well, let's manage expectations as best as possible by because I'll give you an example, right? So a ton of people left Coinbase in like 2015, and they did that on the back of Coinbase listing, I think it was Litecoin at the time. And because Brian, like if you hire, like you guys like ETH a lot, right? And if you go and hire an ETH maximalist, so to speak, and then you say, hey, we only do ETH, we're the number one place to buy and sell Ethereum. And then all of a sudden you're a massive Tron warehouse, an evangelist, that's going to rub the wrong way with some people, right?
Yeah.
People are such diehards. And so this ends up becoming really problematic. And so if you don't sort of like commit your allegiance anywhere and you're just like, yo, I love this space, it's super exciting, but no idea what's going to happen, you just keep your eyes open. It means that sort of like our strategy's always been to sort of move our chips forward sort of like 75% of the way and then reevaluate ongoingly.
Well, I don't really consider myself a maximalist of any sort of tribe.
Yeah,
I'm
you
a
do cool shit.
exactly, and I talked with stuck with Brian from Kava, and
Mm,
he gave me a better term for what I am and what he is as well too, and that's a liquidity maximalist.
yeah.
And I believe more in that, increasing liquid flows between, fiat and crypto and between all the blockchains themselves is the most important thing. And that everything else kind of goes by the wayside. And that
Yeah.
the easier and cheaper that you can make it and faster that you can make it to go from, dollars to Bitcoin or Ethereum or
Mhm.
whatever, and then get into like DeFi products and then get out, all in a couple of minutes. That's really where the power lies, right? And that's
Exactly.
kind of
Exactly. Like I 100% agree with that because it's like imagine in a world where people only drink water and you're trying to sell them soda like soda drinks like Coca-Cola. Even if you're the biggest Coca-Cola fan, it's better to have Coke, Sprite, Fanta, Lift, and 10 different options for everyone else to try different things because we're all throwing shit at the wall and we're waiting to see what sticks basically, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
the more shit we throw, the better it is. That's sort of like why, as a company, we are doing that where we want to help people go to market as fast as humanly possible so that they can fail as fast as humanly possible. And that's okay because it's okay to fail, but like if they're planning this master plan of, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the space is so brutal and it changes so frequently. We don't want people having this huge amount of sunk costs because then their emotional decisions are going to be affected as well. If you've taken one night to build something and you deployed it and no one likes it, then you don't give a shit. But if you did that over 6 months and you deploy it, then you're going to have this, oh, I feel like I need to continue it. Basically, just feel like people couldn't be the best, uh, give everyone the best chance, basically. I don't know if that
Mhm.
makes any sense whatsoever.
No, I mean I mean it kind of makes sense. I mean, would you get like if you saw what you had built today, all the years back, would you
Mm.
like have could you have made the I guess the logical steps of how you had gotten to here, or was it just is it
Oh,
beyond anything you could have thought of in the beginning?
yeah, good question. Well, I think some of the people on my team are from the future. That's not, no, like not even joking. I'm that crazy. Crypto sent me down such a like a shitstorm of just ups and downs. I just don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. But
Hmm.
it's like, I mean, I really do think that we uh, we no way we could have planned for it. But we'd always been an agnostic positioned company. Like that's been always been important to us as being agnostic, regardless of what we're doing. We don't want to be the Coinbase or the BitPay or whatever it is. We always just want to be like, yo, this industry is hard enough to compete against with the external factors. We don't need to fight each other.
I mean, I think it's easy, but there's always competition out there, right?
Yeah, of course. And that's healthy. Like, I mean, MoonPay, for example, everyone laughs at it. I love MoonPay. I think it's
Yeah.
a really slick product. Carbon, which is also, I suppose, like, I'm just saying these seem top of the line, like top of mind competitors that we hear about. It's like, for me, I feel like they're really fantastic products. And the net gain is that the industry will, if we're not doing a good enough job,
Yeah.
and people are telling us that, then that means that somebody is doing a better job, and we get to like the industry is growing. So if we're all like excited about the space first and foremost, and then we're like, cool, we're building a startup to help contribute to the space. I mean, you can't really lose. The only way you
Right.
can lose is just not participating, I think.
Well, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Exactly. And I remember in like 2014 and 15, it was the same thing, but it was just constantly the negatives of like, some companies hot wallet they lose money, or some big government thing happens, and then everyone says that Bitcoin's dead and da 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 da, and it slows down all the conversations with non people that aren't in the space already. It's been a grind.
So why is payments such a, I don't even know the word to describe it when it comes to crypto. I mean, why is it such a Pandora's box when you're connecting these crypto assets to fiat?
Meaning, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's harder than just spinning up and trying to be a like a PayPal or some other like Stripe or some other type of payment, like traditional payment vehicle, right?
Yeah. Oh, you mean why is it such a punish?
Yeah.
It is such a punish because why is it such a punish?
Or is it?
Here it is. Okay, this is it.
Maybe we're just all sadists, right? And that, like, as we wait for 10-minute blocks to chunk out, we can. I don't know.
Well, the main thing is that it's the first time you've ever had a irreversible digital currency, basically. And so that means that you're trying to connect this real world system, which has got all these legal policies for recourse for each individual that's, every individual that's on these networks, they've all got legal recourse. Say, for instance, with a credit card, you've got 90 days with ACH, and it can go beyond 90 days. And with ACH, you've got 60 days. And that's basically, you can go and kick and scream to the bank to get your money back. And obviously, this world is a shitty place where people fight each other for money and kill each other for money. So naturally, that's what happens. Scammers come in and they basically, they start skimming credit cards. And when they skim credit cards, then they start trying to buy Bitcoin. And so someone's got to be liable for it, basically. So you know how, like, when you go to Coinbase or any platform, and it's like, why the fuck do they need a blood sample from me? This is so ridiculous, yada, yada, yada. Well, they take all this information because by law, they actually only need to take like in the US, right? Fully regulated in the US, you only need to take name, date of birth, address, and a government level identification. Now, obviously, we know that we give a lot more than that over when we sign up for like a crypto platform in general. And that is because basically it's to protect them from recourse. So, it's very easy for someone to pretend to be you if that's all they've got to do is verify with your name, date of birth, address, and and your last 3 SSN. You're like, they've got no recourse to prove that you were really the one that requested transferring money from your bank into your Coinbase and sending it out. And so that's why it's like, well, they're constructing an identity of you behind your computer at the time of clicking the button saying buy Bitcoin. And then in the event that the bank's like, hey, this person said that wasn't them, then they've got a stack of information to basically claim otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through a criminal process, or like a criminal complaint. I had some money stolen on Bitcoin, and I was just chatting with the detective today, and he was saying that Bitcoin is great, right? Because we can track everything.
Yeah.
It's the one place where we can go and have an extremely clear path of where all the transactions went and where all the money went, and put together a much clearer idea of what people have done with their money, right? It makes it super easy to do so. And when you attach all that KYC data to it as well too, it just makes it incredibly easy to find and track people, because
100%. And that's the thing, like, so many people, like, for instance, some like at Wyre, right? We did compliance is a big thing, and we want to make sure that cost is not duplicated anywhere, wherever possible, right? So if we're trying to do that, we brought out our compliance token. It was like an opt-in 721 ERC 721 minted token to a wallet. And basically, it doesn't give any information about you. It just says you've been verified by us. And in the event of, like, if you're a startup and you're two people at a hackathon, you want to build a really cool crypto product, like a derivatives product or an exchange or some shit, and you're really paranoid. Like everyone was sleeping with one eye open for like years, and they still are in crypto about, are we licensed? Do we need to be licensed? Are we a money service business? And we were basically saying, well, this can be like a public utility where you can just take it around and people want to serve these verified users. They can feel confident. It also allows for like, if DRW, like Cumberland Trading or Galaxy or someone, if they're trading on a DEX market, they can choose to trade against wallets that have been verified. They don't need to know who it is, but they just need to know we're not at risk from a licensing perspective, that we're trading with bad actors or bad counterparties. And that, sorry, back to what you originally said with the auditability. Like for us as a company, that's really good, because if we have third party audits, we can immediately say we did this at this time, and it's not, oh my god, the auditors are coming in tomorrow, we've got to get organized. It's like, this is a ledger, it's been going forever, so the auditors can sort of get a head start, and their job becomes easier as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what about like, I guess, data privacy when it comes to people using Wyre? I mean, are you doing data analytics on your customers and using that in like, I guess, Google-style to run it through some machine learning and other types of different algorithms to come up with, I guess, predictive processes about any payments or users or anything?
Yeah, well, that's that's a really good thing you mentioned that, because obviously, like, the short answer is, if we do, I don't even know. I think the closest thing we would do beyond compliance is, like, we've got a pretty good team that have been here for a long time, and that they're pretty respectful of sort of how the ecosystem, like, we don't want to be like, oh, cool, let's just build the next Facebook, and just mine data. The only thing we do, we keep it really insulated, and
Mm-hmm.
really access controlled between like who's got access from like a compliance perspective, and the time when data would be used uh, is, I'm just trying to think. Oh, yeah, it's like in underwriting, basically. So if someone comes, we verify them, because there's sort of two components, right? There's, are you verified because we're legally obligated to make sure you're a US person or whatever. So we've got to take these pieces of information. So that definitely gets looked at.
Right.
And then like then you've got a risk score of like, well, is this a burner email address with a badly formatted picture or document upload that looks sketchy? And then that will then be use like different IP address like insights and stuff for fraud prevention. But other than that, we don't really have too much.
But as a payment services company,
Mm-hmm.
it would, so on the one hand, blockchain and other, let's just say Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies
Mm.
are a gold mine for anyone doing data analytics,
Yeah.
because everything is public and all the transactions can be traced, which
Yeah.
allows you to have pure, like really, really pure data when it comes to any sort of data set that you're putting together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm, if Facebook and Google are doing it, then PayPal is also doing it as well too. I'm sure Stripe and
Whatever. So the big thing with payment people, like with payment
Mhm.
companies, where they're going to do the underwriting is always going to be like, that is their cost base. The worse their underwriting is, it means the more risk they take on from a fraud perspective. More risk
Right.
and fraud, the higher their costs. So that's what separates everyone, basically. So everybody could do ACH processing in America, but
Mhm.
it's very, very difficult to underwrite people. So all these complexities add up to, no, this is just too hard. We're not going to bother doing it, basically.
This is because of the 60, 90-day rules, right? So
Yep.
yeah. So Wire's
Making
underwrite.
sure
So
that.
Wire, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So you guys are underwriting the risk of holding those transactions for 60 to 90 days.
Yep, exactly. Because like when
Yeah.
someone does a payment, they're like, "Oh, I connected my bank account. I did a payment." It's like, no, no, no. We're underwriting you for a loan for 60 days. So like the dynamic isn't as well understood for most people. I don't think, just
Hmm.
because people shouldn't know about this stuff and they don't know about it. But it's crazy when when you just think about how little you've got no legs to stand on, basically. Like ACH and just generally all that sort of shit. Oh my god, they are the most backwards systems ever. It's crazy. Like, yeah.
So, I mean, what would you do? How would you change the payment system?
Oh, just yeah, good question, right? Look, I think we're really bullish on, and we've talked about it pretty vocally, but like everything. One thing I've learned is always about device-based security. So any multi-factor, our architect and CTO, they've been so good at educating us as a company and like putting best practices for security. And I think that's where it all comes back to is security and device-based security. So I think Apple Pay, Google, Samsung, Amazon, those guys are really well positioned to be the leaders in that space. Um, if you look at Libra, for example, so Libra, let's look at Libra,
What?
right?
So, hold on, before we get there, so like what you're saying is that digital identity and having it attached to a device, to your phone, is one of the most important things for payments in the next decade,
Oh, I mean, well, that's the most important thing.
or now at least.
Well, yeah, now. So, but I mean, yes, because the regulation, it's that and regulation. So if you could choose one or the other, it's like regulation, change it, which is what's happening in Europe a lot more. So they're enforcing like this multi-factor authentication essentially for issuing banks. So in America, when a bank wants to give everybody a card, right? Like, oh
Right.
yeah, here's a debit card, here's a credit card, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is
Right.
all awesome. And they just throw them out like, crazy. Now, they're not liable when that person goes and spends it at a merchant and charges back. That mum and dad, t-shirt store or taco stand or whatever it is, they're liable most of the time. And they have to then justify why they should get the money back from the fraudster. So in this shift in regulation, which we're seeing like the EU and the Asia Pacific or Oceania, or like Australia, basically. That's moved it to the issuing bank. So it's saying, no, guys, you're fucking useless. Look at all the chargebacks. Credit card skimming's a thing. Make it harder to get a card. And so that means they do a much more thorough process of verification up front. So they're not giving out as many cards, and each card that's given out under these conditions, the merchant will not be as liable as they once were. So it's making it more fair, basically.
That makes sense, actually, to have the person issuing the credit be liable instead of the actual.
Of course, yeah, exactly. It's like fucking robbery. Man, they were on a good wicket for a long time, but geez Louise, give us a break.
I mean, can Wire move into the credit side, or is it? I mean, I know you guys are providing you're underwriting loans for payments, but is there a, uh, I guess, consumer or business credit side that you guys can move into?
Yeah, I mean, world's biggest fan of MakerDao right here. Maybe David is the only one actually that's a bigger fan, but no, I think just I mean that alone, right? So savings is probably something that we're really excited about. It makes a lot of sense for our partners. If you like being totally honest, obviously, fiat to crypto is fiat to BTC, ETH, da 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 da. But it's going to be fiat to DSR, fiat to
Right.
Uniswap, Fiat to Realty, or whatever it is. And I think as a plumbing company, like effectively that's what we are, our responsibility is to think in that mentality a lot more. So we've got to be on top of the space and make sure that what the space is doing, we're enabling through our API for our partners, basically. So, yeah, 100%. I think savings. Oh, I don't think it's out actually yet, but yeah, DSR. I mean, how incredible is the DSR as a product? Are
It's
you a
great.
big fan of it?
Oh, it's great. I mean, so Dave and I were chatting about this yesterday. He thinks that the DSR is bad.
Is that Dunworth?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, David?
Yeah. He thinks it's actually like bad for the entire space, right? Because it's a centralizing, monopolistic draw of gravity, right? That
Mhm.
that just
Liquidity
sucks.
black hole.
Exactly. That sucks business away from all the other lenders on DeFi, right? So DSR takes money that would be in like Compound and puts it in DSR, or it takes stuff that could be in like DYDX and puts it in DSR. And so he
What's
thinks
the problem
there's
with that? You mean the capital in circulation is now not benefiting, or is it makers too big and
it's that
everybody
maker
else can't compete?
it's that maker's too big and it presents a systemic risk to the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know if I agree, right? Because another thing that he also said, I think he's contradictory in his statements, is that money. So his argument is that money always becomes monopolistic at some point, and this is why he's an ETH maximalist. So if he
Mm.
believes that, then maker should have a monopoly on everything, right?
I don't think it's bad. I'm just worried about it.
He's just worried about it. I think it's great. So
I,
you know
I,
what is
I actually think I don't think he's too far off because it's like I mean, like last year, I was sort of. I'm not against the idea of say someone like a trial run of
Mhm.
like the what's it called, the emergency shutdown or whatever. One,
Right. Yeah, the emergency. Yeah, I think it's emergency shutdown.
yeah, and I was like, well, I mean, look, it's only going to get bigger. Like
Hmm.
the stakes are only going to get higher. If you're ever going to do it, it's looking like a pretty good time to do it now. And to just see how it goes. And I mean, basically got torn a new one from everyone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, good. Like, I mean, this is the space. Everyone's got a thought, but at least for consideration, that's what I think. I wouldn't have been opposed to it overall, really. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question. So when do you think that like okay, so Coinbase and Circle have USDC zero fee on ramps in
Mhm.
crypto now? Yeah. Is that threatening for your payments
Mm,
platform? Like long term, like let's just assume that more banks start rolling out these, zero fee one to one on off
mhm.
uh, uh, fiat stable coins
Yeah, yeah.
that you can move seamlessly between whatever blockchain that you're on back into your bank account, right? So
Yeah,
I know that like one thing that you guys have is addresses where you can send money to people and then it just appears in their bank account, right?
yeah, yeah. Have you done that before?
No, but
Oh, dude, it's awesome. You know what?
yeah.
I basically had it from. I remember when we first brought it out, like internally, like 18 months ago. I used to have it sort of. It was when before Compound had like their wrapped tokens. So it would sweep like $50 in interest, and every $50 it would push it to my bank account. I
That's
thought that
pretty
was
cool.
so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just completely interrupted you.
Right, but like if everything becomes ubiquitous across
Yep.
both fiat and crypto, right? I guess that's winning though, right? I'm fine with that outcome.
Yep.
But where does the payments provider fit at that point?
Are you saying what happens to our jobs here at Wire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're adios, 100%. Like that's one of the things. Like as a company, we've been very aware that an on ramp in general is a one-way street. if
Yeah.
we can, like, what we're trying to do first is enable as much value to start their engines and get to market. So whether it's like an Argent or Dharma or Linen or whoever it is, you want to seed the network of builders, and then by the time you bring people in, they're going to come for X but stay for Y.
Right.
So, I came for this crazy Bitcoin thing that I heard about because it was going up every day and everyone was making money. But I stayed because then I moved it into this thing called DAI where I was earning interest. And
Yeah.
it's about like kind of, catering for both markets. Financial markets are really cyclical, and obviously, and that's one of the things we're really, really conscious about is, everyone has to work together because, when our time will come when we're useless, basically, when
Well,
everyone.
no, but thinking back on it, having taken another minute to think about it, I mean, I'm almost positive that there will always be a place for a payments provider because we do not have a unified regulatory system across all countries, right? And
Mm,
so there will always exist limits of what any one institution can provide globally. And so there'll always be this areas of, I guess, regulatory arbitrage that different payment providers like yours could fit in.
true. Yeah. No, that's true. But I think like the way that I think about it is I'd rather, and we try and tell teams that we're working with about this, but we are a common denominator amongst many different teams in that we might work with a team from France, Africa, da 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 da, all these different regions with different applications. Like, it's not about Wyre. Like, Wyre's not trying to build PayPal. Like, our partners specifically, right? You can't build a relationship with a financial service provider in anything ever if there's this third party that you've never heard of always interjecting themselves. So, like, that's why we try and stay behind the scenes. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is that we think that we're more of the mindset that making a lot less but growing the pie is a net win, like by a big amount, basically.
Yeah.
So we look at, I mean, maybe what about like a decentral, like wrapping ourselves as a DAO? That'd be cool, and giving all of our partners, a hand in the upside. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Now, buy my token. No, I'm no. Yeah, no, it's, what, one thing actually, sorry, can I rewind back to the DAI comment? What
Yeah,
was
sure.
your take on it? Do you think Maker is too big, or like,
No,
how do you see
no,
it?
no, no, no. I love it. I mean, my thesis about Bitcoin is
Hmm.
that volatility never goes away. And so Bitcoin as a payments vehicle is never going to work
Mhm.
because nobody wants to like send Bitcoin that moves up and down 2% or 5% every single day. With six
Then
confirmation,
$100 show up at $78.
right? In 60 minutes, which is six confirmations, which is what you need to have permanent finality. There's a lot of movement that could take place, and
Mhm.
that hedging process can be like done through options and futures and other things,
Yeah.
but it costs money, even if it's only for an hour.
Yep.
And so I really don't think that Bitcoin as a payments vehicle works. So the thing that I know that works is the dollar, and the dollar's awesome. It's amazing. I
Yep.
love it. And so when Ethereum came along and Maker came along and figured out, hey, let's take this extremely volatile asset and
Mhm.
let's make something stable out of it. That's one of my reasons for my like big ETH support, right? Is
Yeah.
because you figured out how to create trustless value, and then from that you created dollars, and that's winning. And I think that's like long term what gives like Ethereum such an edge in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I think Maker is so exceptional. Like, in the like scheme of things, when it comes to execution,
Hmm.
people look at this as building the next startup, and they, like, few look at it as growing a network, like really a really strong, resilient network.
Yeah.
And man, Maker has just done such an exceptional job. It's been, they haven't rushed themselves. if you know what I mean. Like they started in like 2015. They've
Yeah.
been very methodical and pragmatic with their execution, as opposed to sort of saying, hey, quick, we need to do a token sale, list on Binance, and now there's 100 million people with our token. The dream is dead because we've got no control over the way the network grows now.
Yeah.
Comparing that sort of mentality with, with a maker sort of mentality, I think the only thing I wish they did more of, or I wish there was very clearly articulated, like near-term goals and long-term goals, because that's going to, like, people like David, if they're frustrated at, say, something like the DSR being this big, black hole of capital, if the goal is to, if your goal as MakerDao is to get everybody a CDP and then everybody a savings account in the next 12 months, then that's going to determine a lot more of a different mentality in how people approach it. But I think savings is the perfect start, because we're about to we're out of the bear market now, or going out of the bear market, by trading volumes and whatnot. And so cyclical financial markets being so cyclical, when there's a, let's say the bull run in 2017, and then it zombies off down, for the next 2 years, people don't get the volatility. And like you were saying, volatility is absolutely critical, because that's where people make money.
Yeah,
and
it goes both ways.
Foreign exchange markets, people trading the euro to the GBP, which is stupidly liquid, they're usually 100x leave it up, because 5 bit movement now becomes a 5% movement, which is actually worth having. And so, when that's why Maker's been incredibly successful, in my opinion, and BitMEX has grown like crazy since 2017.
Right. So I would say that DeFi is where plebs figured out that there's interest rates in crypto, because they existed before. You could go to, if you're a smart person, you could have gone to BitMEX and figured out how to collect their funding rate, right?
Yep.
Which is stupid high. But Maker figured out how to distill it into an easy to deposit and collect savings rate that anybody could come and take part of.
Yeah, and then that comes back to goals, right? If their goal is to have it an anybody can access system, then that is a really good play for them, and they've catered to that really well. Now, if their goal is to say, how do we make this the go-to venue for any trader on in general, then they're going to paint a different story there, basically. And so I think it's perfect, because the DSR is timed so well, where on the back of DAI launching, they've gotten DAI into market, they've gotten multi-collateral DAI into market in a down market, kept it stable, and now it's about to be a bull run where people won't want as much leverage. So the DSR is going to become, absolutely clutch, in my opinion, over a bull run.
Why does everybody say it's going to be a bull run?
Don't question my bag holding. No,
exactly.
I'll tell you why. Because, do
you see it in your Wyre data?
So, back to the question. I felt dishonest, actually. So, with the data stuff,
yes,
one thing we will do, or at least, not will, but I like looking at, is transaction volumes on the network. And I'll give you an example. We don't list many tokens, if any, right? We've got some stable coins and then ETH and Bitcoin, basically. Mm-hmm. And people always ask us why. It's it doesn't add that much value long term, we don't think. And if it's not that, then some of them are super scammy. You can look at the data of trade volume and price rise, and then you compare that with Medium and Twitter announcement sentiments. And it's if they're having a 20% bump, and then a day later, we've partnered with Walmart or some big hype announcement, or we've listed on Coinbase, it feels very dishonest. It's insider trading, basically. So fuck off. Sorry. What was the other question though? I just had that.
Right. I was just asking if there's anything that you're seeing in Wyre that would point to the beginnings of
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. The beginnings of bull run, just trade volume, market. I mean, yeah, activity and trade volume.
Mm-hmm.
That's a definite.
Because like fund flows are very important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're seeing a lot more incoming payments and people, your payments are picking up, and
Of
maybe
course,
it's part.
like every single partner, I think, I think, people that have been established, they're all seeing the same thing, and that is the sentiment has changed from oh fuck crypto winter to
Uh-huh.
oh okay, this is something's happening. The ground is starting to rumble.
I'm
Do you want me to tell you why there's going to be a bull run?
I would have more. I mean, I'm more cynical. I would have more reasons why there wouldn't be.
Okay, so fair, I totally understand, but I mean, this is sort of the baseline of logic, at least that I'm pretty subscribed to,
Mm-hmm.
is if you've got Bitcoin as the entry point for the economy, like the digital currency economy, right? It's always been the big carrot that drives the crazy sort of the 2017s, the 2013s. And it'll do it again because it is fundamentally valuable to some people, and a halving in the supply is not going to be seen with a halving in the demand. And so essentially, every day that goes by that Bitcoin hasn't broken, it's sort of one more day of optimism that the halving will actually take place. And so if people know that a halving is going to take place, um, that's why it's basically the supply gets cut in half. And so for us, we don't really give a shit about it. It's like, well, we already knew about it, so da da da. But it's not really us that matters. If you look at all the mining, when the miners are trying to sell, they've got people they're going to sell their coins to. Now, when that is, they've got half the amount of stock. If you look at a country like China, which has got a huge footprint of mining, and has been pretty aggressive on the front foot overall since like 2012 or 2013 with crypto and Bitcoin mainly. That's very material, and that starts driving price up pretty quickly. Because not only are you going to have the supply halved, but you're going to have the same amount, if not more people trying to access this. And so naturally it's just people are going to outbid each other, like the rent prices in San Francisco. It's more people coming here getting paid more money by Facebook and stuff. It's that's hiking the prices up. Same thing with China, because obviously capital outflows are that's like a super big thing for Chinese people when they're kind of restricted in how they can move their money around. And I say that if you think about, because Bitcoin is the most liquid, it's always been the entry point. And, soon we might see people going directly to DAI and stuff like that. And as you mentioned before, USDC, it's possible, but still Bitcoin captures a lot of the liquidity. And so I think any adjustment to Bitcoin's supply into market is going to be felt. Now, the difference is, because there's so many more people in the market now, it means it gets felt quicker. So in 2012, the first halving, 18 months later in December, or we had November 28th, 2013, you had the all-time high on Bitfinex, like $1,200. Now, the bull run took a while, and there was like, oh, it's Silk Road and this and that. But then in 2016, you had a halving, and by May, at the start of January, February, March, it was already starting to go like marching really, really high beyond the previous all-time highs. So basically, the halving happens, and then some period of time after, you're going to see the market respond. The more people in the market, the faster that response is felt. That's why it's like people go to bed on the halving night and it's like, oh my God, it's like Santa Claus. No, you're not going to wake up and Bitcoin's tripled or any shit like that, because it's your market.
Mike, what happened to Litecoin after the halving?
What happened to Litecoin? period. I don't know. What did happen to Litecoin? Nothing?
It went down by 70% or 60% or something.
Yeah, that would make complete sense to me. Well, I mean, why would it, you know why it goes down by 70%? This is what a lot of people that haven't captured value into their token are going to experience is
Buy the rumors, sell the news.
well, I mean, basically, yeah, exactly. If Bitcoin starts running up, which it will, because just naturally, because of this sort of external factors, it will vacuum in all these really, really illiquid assets really quickly. And then once people have made money, it spills over back into the rest of the economy. But generally speaking, you don't want to be a illiquid asset when it starts going on a run because it'll be the first one to start running. And the same. I mean, it's a good and bad situation where you've got an illiquid asset. Great, it pumps. It can go crazy in 2 days, and you make 100%. But on the flip side, it can just be sold off really quickly.
Do you have any?
I'll give you. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask if you had any good stories about crazy times in 2018, like something that was just completely beyond anything you've ever seen in 2018, and just like people doing strange things at the top of the market.
This sounds like a really loaded question.
No, it's not. No, I mean, I just remember going to I remember going to conferences in that kind of late 2017, 2018 period, and
yeah,
it was top of the market. I mean, it felt like the top of the market. So when we went to 14,000 earlier this year, and it didn't feel like that anymore. I think maybe it was just the shit coins that were pumping then. It wasn't really Bitcoin. It was shit coins, yeah. Because there was so many more 100x wins off of people buying what were.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, a lot of the trade desks it just got too competitive, so a lot of the trade desks actually just stopped trading on the majors, and they went straight to trading on all the Binance related assets.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, Binance is a beast. They are just.
Yeah, I know. But top of the market 2018, I think it was February, maybe this time 2 years ago. There was Bitcoin Miami. I don't know if you went there.
No.
Oh God, it was like peak shitcoin. It was a shitcoin festival at a Bitcoin conference.
How did that go?
Oh, it was great. It was great. They had there was this huge debacle because the after event for the entire conference was in a strip club.
Yeah?
And it was all over the news. It was like
really? Fuck, what have I been doing in my life? Okay, keep going. I'm really interested to hear.
Oh yeah, well, just the amount of Lambos. It's like there must have been 40 Lambos parked outside of the convention center, and people rocking up in their Bitcoin tailored suits, like orange suits with Bitcoin logo all over it.
Yep.
It was a lot of money and not a lot of sense.
I mean that's everything. Because it's people easy come, easy go.
Yeah, exactly.
And when everyone makes money very quickly, people usually lose it very quickly. The problem is a lot of the times, at least from what I see, is like the problem is people when you're trading, especially some people become traders overnight. They're genius traders in 2 seconds. And the problem is no matter what you tell anyone, or no matter what they ask, hey, I want to get into cryptocurrencies, what should I buy? Doesn't matter what I say, you're going to go into an exchange and lever it up and do whatever you want. I have so many people that come back and they're like, oh, I just started trading and I lost it all and I shouldn't have done that. Like, I'm such an idiot. But the idea is people get granted the illusion of skill. It's kind of like poker, I think, where I love playing poker. And it's sort of like nobody knows if they're good or not. It's sort of everyone thinks they're good, but it's hard to determine if you are or if you got lucky.
Yeah.
And so when people don't know if they're getting lucky or not when they're trading, thinking oh my God, I can't lose. I'm picking everything. that's when it's really difficult to sort of drive sense into people. I'm big on education. I really like education.
It's the same. It's the same about VCs in San Francisco too, right?
Yes. Wait, what? Hold on, wait, what?
Well, no, where they just throw a bunch of money around and there's they get some successes and they let it go to their heads and all of a sudden they're on VC Twitter,
Oh, right. Yes.
trying to
Yeah.
become the next not Naval.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love Naval Streets. Now I know what you're talking about in February. It must
It's like
be.
survivorship bias, right?
Wait, oh, yeah. Like preserving their best interests.
Well, no, it's just like if you're talking about being successful and getting to the end and thinking that you had the right set of traits when really you were just lucky or you were just one of the few who was in the right place at the right time. So you have survivorship bias.
Well, I mean more like actually like the people that are trading. Like,
Yeah.
a friend who's a plumber who bought some Bitcoin, never done trading, but now all of a sudden is trading 3x leverage. It's like that to me gets me really concerned because they don't want to see people like drop all their money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it like you? Yeah, I mean, you've been out in San Francisco for what, a couple years now?
Yeah, 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point you can sell your company and buy a house in San Francisco, a little shack.
Yeah, I was about to say sell the company and buy like a sleeping bag on the side of the road. Yeah, that's what it would happen. That's what would probably happen. Yeah, it's fucking dear as poison out here.
Why don't you move? Why don't you take the company and go somewhere a bit more fair weather and cheaper for your employees?
We actually have thought about that. Like, I mean, Miami, a lot of the hiring is done there now.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of remote workers, and everyone here is actually, it was sort of already here, so not that many like people have relocated. I don't think.
Yeah.
Pardon? What do you mean? Well, Liana just goes, everyone is relocated. I'm like, oh. Well, no. I was already here. Yanni was already here.
Yeah.
Jack was already here. Oh yeah, no, we've had a couple of people relocate.
Because let's see, you and what's I mean, you don't have to be too specific, but like average salaries in, you don't have to talk about your company, you can talk about in generalizations here, but average salaries in San Fran, 70K isn't enough to really live. Like you need to be making an over 100, 150 kind of gets you started, right?
Really?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have you tried to live off 70K in San Fran today?
I mean, me and my co-founder, we had our wages at 20 or 30K, and we slept in the office. So we didn't have rent, but it was 30K wage without, but no rent. So
yeah.
Then we gave ourselves a pay rise to 70K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm just off then. But the
No. I think like, look, it's just really fucking hard to live for sure. I think out here, but like, to be honest, if it was up to us, yeah, we would have 100% relocate. As a matter of fact, we talked about like doing, like moving everyone to remote if they wanted to, because we're not excited. Like we're really frugal as founders, I think generally, and like as a company. So like we don't want to pay a big rent bill if we don't have to. And plus it's like, I mean, it's a disadvantage being in San Francisco. And I tell the team this as well, because if we think we're in a good spot being like, oh, Silicon Valley and blah, 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 dude, we're going to get murdered. And everybody that thinks that way will, by teams that are global from day zero, and they are being built by people that usually aren't financially driven to contribute to the project, versus, hey, I've got an offer from Netflix for an extra 100,000. How many smoothie machines do you have to make me not for Netflix? It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, we've got so much shit to do. Can you help us or not? It's like, but when you look at like the decentralized teams or distributed team setups, especially in the crypto community, like whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, it doesn't matter. It's just everyone is contributing. Like they might be up till 1 a.m. writing a blog post for a company they're not even getting paid by.
Yeah.
And with no, like they're just contributing to the community generally speaking. And I think that because the market is so up and down, in and out and uncertain, and there's so much ambiguity, that is the number one thing that you need is like organic interest, because otherwise people just come and go. It's just like,
Well,
hey,
I guess what I was wondering is like, as somebody running a company, like, does it go through your mind about moving your employees to somewhere where the cost of living is?
100%,
Yeah,
1,000,000%, yeah. And we give them the choice. Like, I mean, that'd be a crowd vote, and we just table it. Like,
but because
where do you want us to move to?
yeah, because do any of your employees like own a house?
Do you? Fucking bull, really? Oh no, Liana does.
Oh, congratulations, congratulations. Yeah. So, but is she the only one in the company, or is
Uh,
MakerDao.
Monica does, yeah.
no? So there's a few, right?
Yeah, outside of, yeah.
Doesn't Jack?
No, Jack does. Well, Sam, yeah, I mean, some people do. And they own a house, but I mean, no one,
Javier's buying.
not in San Francisco, though. Like,
Oh, right. Yeah. Out
the
somewhere.
remote workers own their houses, basically. Yeah. Why? We're going to move to realty? Wait, would realty be the place where people buy their houses now?
Yeah, that's one thing that can be done, I think, in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to. Oh, I think it would be better for reverse mortgages. So if you already own the house and you want to sell off a portion of your equity to get some cash, it would be better for that.
Yes.
And then what else could we do? Could we sell people houses and then we would need like a mortgage lender who would be happy working with us, right? Because one thing is if the tokens go out in the wild and you're trying to like buy the tokens to get full equity ownership, at some point, you know, what happens if the token price doubles and your mortgage just doubled, right? So
how good?
Well, no, it'd be terrible, right? Because you know, normally you kind of like lock yourself into the property price, and that's what you pay for the next 30 years. But if the property price doubles,
you guys could be a good proxy between extracting the capital from Maker or a system like that to other people. So making sure that people are tokenizing their places, getting paid for it, or paying down their places. Maybe that's exactly what you do. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're working on it. I mean, David's putting the hard work in, so I'm trying to keep up with him. So
man, fuck hell! Every time he uploads photos, it's like him in the gym, and I'm just like, bruh. I open my like Apple Health, and it's like you've been a turd for 380 days straight now, and I'm like, oh man, I feel like a piece of shit.
It's because he's on like a 7-day fast every week.
Oh, intermittent fasting? Well,
yes.
That's not intermittent. That's just like Lonely Island stranded fasting. That's San Francisco just paid my rent fasting. That's what that is. You're 80 for 7 days. Oh man, I should have my shit together.
Oh, Mike, let's. I think we're getting to the end, man. Is there anything else you want to cover or talk about?
No, I mean, was there anything that you wanted to cover specifically?
No, I got through everything I wanted to. You know, I got to ask the questions about your guys' privacy and.
Did we go into enough? I feel like, well, we're obligated. I mean, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and waste your time if you don't want to, but I mean, like, I'd say thinking of it, one thing I was going to say in relation to, you said February 2018, and you were like, what happened there at the top of the market? I can't remember, but it was like, I think that's when we actually started a fund. We started did you know that? And you were waiting for me to say that, by the way?
No, you started a fund in February 2018?
Well, we basically put it into market, yeah, but we didn't deploy capital for it. But that sort of couples into betting on teams that we can't do the same stuff as them. But also, if this is a one-way street, then that's a great hedge to buy the pie we're trying to grow. So if everyone comes in and uses Wyre and then Wyre becomes obsolete and shit, at least we've been like betting, doubling down basically. So
Well, you probably get it. You probably get it. Well, I mean, if you're going to go obsolete, you probably get acquired before then. That's fine. Get a nice big check.
Yeah, I pay my rent then. I might be able to buy that sleeping bag. Yeah, man. Oh, man, it's so expensive. But I really, I wish San Francisco. It's a different world. Like a lot of people, it's not like it was with startups and people go to Y Combinator and raise money and da da da. That it has an advantage for, but dude, in the crypto world, there's no advantage to that, in my opinion. It's good to come and network and circle jerk a bit because there's a lot of faces here that are, building cool stuff. But generally, I think of the distributed teams. They're the killers, and they're like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
Dude.
Well, awesome, Mike. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The End of the Chain. I just want to say that everything on this show is not financial advice, and you should consult with a professional before making any investment decisions. I want to thank you, my listeners, for tuning in. You're doing a great job. Our listenership is blowing up. You guys make the show. Do it all for you. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be on with the next one in just a couple of days.